Good morning and welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. This is Daybreak and we are now on our second segment to discuss consumer responsibility in waste management. It's a topic that also dovetails issues in regards to the environment and where the responsibility lies from the consumer's perspective. With me in studio, Stephen Muli is the board chair, the Kenya Extended Producer Responsibility Organization. Good morning, Stephen.
Yeah. Good morning, Ayub.
Lovely having you here.
Pleasure.
Karibu and welcome.
Asante sana.
Thank you. Sonia Orwa is the country chief executive officer, Mr. Green Africa. Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Morning.
Green is the word I see, and green is the ambition that many have across the world. We'll be talking about that. Benson Abila will be joining us virtually from Kisumu County, and he is the founder and CEO, MTACA, and we'll be getting his comments shortly here on the broadcast. And Samuel Odamo is with me in the studio, the chairperson of Nairobi Metropolitan Community-Based Waste Management Network. Lady and gentlemen, I appreciate your time and thank you for being here with us. Coming to you first, Sonia, being the only lady on the panel. This is an initiative, if you look at it from consumers' perspective, that bears a responsibility towards them. How do you then intend to achieve that regarding the green journey that you seek to have?
Okay, so I think first off, consumer is king. I think across the globe, the consumers will move mountains. So I think one of the key things in this agenda of the circular economy and ensuring that we remove waste from our streets, oceans, lakes, and making sure we have a clean environment, the consumer has a lot of say.
Okay.
And this is really by how they purchase, how they inform on what they do, and also, most importantly, the awareness level of the consumer can, of course, change the whole game. Mr. Green is in recycling, and for us, one of the key things is the low recyclability rates, right? And that is also because how packaging is designed.
Yeah.
So the consumer has a lot of influence to start and make sure that packaging is designed for recyclability, and that way the circular economy will remain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Stephen Muli, talk us about then the drive towards sustainable the promotion of sustainable packaging by your organization, because that has been a big problem. We took a huge milestone in banning plastics, but still we seem to be having problems with plastic again. How do you intend to overcome these challenges?
Well, as a PRO, that is a Producer Responsibility Organization, and being one of the largest in Kenya, representing more than 800 manufacturers in the industry, our directive and our strategy, first of all, looks at how we can influence the design bit of it. That is, when you talk about manufacturers, you want to look at what is the amount of recycled content that is even going in as you make this production of your packaging material, so that at the end of the day, you're able to adapt, I think what Sonia has mentioned here, the circular economy. How do you create that circular economy? How do you remove these plastics from the environment? Because number one, I think our big challenge is saying that, plastic out there in the sea, in our environment, that is where we are seeing a challenge. But pulling it out and bringing it back into the process of manufacturing the same material actually eliminates it and gives it a role in it. And by doing that, again, you're creating employment. When you're saying somebody has to do the collection and the manufacturer gets involved. What you're saying here, we want to balance what you're saying, the planet and the profit. Manufacturer has to take, consequences, management in terms of what they're putting out on the environment. And this, they do it by definitely coming in to play a role in the collection and in the recyclability of that material. Okay,
Samuel, given that you chair the Nairobi Metropolitan Community-Based Waste Management Network, one of the major challenges within the metropole, the metropolis, is the issue of garbage. Before we come to what we can do about that, how is informal picking of this garbage, especially in settlements that are informal, leading to a challenge that we are already having in terms of managing our wastes?
We are the people who majorly collect waste from the residentials. And one of the biggest challenges that we normally face is people, the perceptions the perception that people have on waste. People still, they don't understand that they need to take responsibility of making sure that the waste that they are generating dispose in at the right place.
Mm-hmm.
So because we are talking about circular economy, and we have a circular economy and a linear economy. And you know, when the linear economy means that you take, make, and then dispose.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the circular economy is you make, use, and then you recycle. And then from us, people who are collecting waste, if we have more recyclers, this material that we're recovering from waste can be recycled, then we can minimize waste. But when we don't have, even if we tell the people to start segregation, waste from household level, and we don't have where we can take them, then definitely it will still end up in the dump site.
Yeah.
So the circularability is now the key for waste management.
We'll further exploit what happens next from the dump site, because there are proposals about recycling, what's recyclable, and talking about the different components of the waste itself. But allow me to also engage Benson Abila, joining us from the county of Kisumu. He is the founder and network chief executive officer of MTech, certainly leaning towards technology to address this problem. Benson, how are you leveraging on technology to achieve the set goals that you have?
Thank you so much. First of all, I think in line with the conversation we're already having, and especially the angle of moving towards the circular economy, I think it's important that we focus on towards behavior change. And when you talk about how we are leveraging technology, I think it invites me to the aspect that we cannot transition towards circular economy, or we cannot transition towards sustainable waste management practices if we don't have the consumers at the center of what we're doing. And for us, we've been able to develop digital tools that ensure that the generators, who are the consumers are able to interact and access the services of, say, waste collection and recycling in a more easy way, so that then they're able to also play a part. It's easy to, of course, throw blame or point fingers at different people in the ecosystem. But I think that if we do not tackle the problem from the source, if we are not able to engage with the consumer and build the capacity of the importance of, let's say, separating their waste at source or managing their waste the right way, then this entire ideology of us transitioning to a better system of managing things will not perhaps be achieved. So for us as MTech, we've really been at the core of ensuring that, one, we're able to promote education and awareness through the digital platforms. We're able to ensure that the aspect of incentivization, because if you're telling me to manage my waste the right way, how are you, perhaps, convincing me to even take that action? So we believe in the concept, of course, if you're able to gamify the whole process, but most importantly, give people rewards for their action, then they might be motivated to perhaps take action. So we really look at, if you're getting people to know the right practices, incentivizing people to lock down this particular action, but then also you're able to leverage the data component. Because if I don't know, say, the amount of waste I'm producing, if I don't know the trends of waste in terms of what I'm handling, then it's difficult for me to even, say, make a good decision. So at MTech, we really understand that it's important to have the consumers know their role, give them a way of interacting with the service providers so that they can be incentivized for their recyclable materials, the plastic, the glass, and everything. But at the same time, also support the people who are doing recycling so that they can also know the trends of the work that they're doing. But most importantly, if you look at, say, addressing the gap that we have in the ecosystem, if you're just building the capacity of consumers to do the right thing, whether the manufacturer is designing for of course, recycling, it is very key people that do this work, especially around the first mile recovery, also need to be incentivized. And that comes with the component of market access and fair pricing, and that's what our technology is enabling. So on top of building an application for people, we also we built a marketplace that enables the guys who are doing the services in the community to be able then to access a better market for their product.
Okay, Sonia, and we apologize for the slow feedback in getting to Benson, but it's an issue that we are working on. Sonia, coming to you, given that we have a low recycling rates of between 7 to 10% of plastic, before we even get to the dump site and talk about the components of the other waste materials, how can this number be increased? How can we boost this number, given that we are way back in regards to the set targets that must be achievable, and this from the perspective of multi-stakeholder approach you included?
Yes, so if you look at it globally, the recycling rates are all below 20%. We're looking at the countries with the highest recycling rate, like Germany, are at 20%. So Kenya in the African context and the global south in general is around 7 to 10%. And the main reason, and I'll give it 3 factors. One is a lot of the material you see already, like plastic, for example, cannot be recycled. It's very difficult to recycle. First, it's very difficult to identify the different types of plastic. So as I mentioned earlier, the way we design plastic from when it's created must be designed for recyclability, so that it can, of course, be given a new life over and over again. The second challenge is recycling is a very capex-intensive process. So, of course, if we can make it more accessible for more recyclers to get into the business of recycling and get machinery, then you'll see the rates automatically go up, okay? In Kenya, we have around 5 large recyclers, Mr. Green being one of the largest. And the idea here is because we have spent a lot of time understanding the collection, but also the technology part of it, to be able to recycle it into a high-quality product that then companies, big brand owners will then use in their packaging. Okay, so there's that element. The third element is obviously now the global factors like pricing. So the recycled plastic is, for example, in competition with virgin plastic. And it's a matter of virgin plastic is shinier. So one of the ways we could also actually increase recyclability is if the consumer says, I really don't care if the bottle that comes in my Vim packaging is bright white or a bit dull or just less dull. Because if you go home, do you really pay attention to how bright your packaging is, right? So it's really about the consumer saying, we want products that have been recycled. So the manufacturers, the converters will make sure they use recycled material in their packaging. So the big 3, those are the real 3 major reasons why the recyclability rate is very low. Obviously, also collection is a challenge, but with SAMI and all the great waste pickers out there, and of course with consumers being told to separate at source, this of course will also increase that.
Okay, and how then, what are the avenues towards then creation of enough awareness around that? Because you have submitted that there are some issues that we may not pay attention to, but are important.
Yes.
Then through which avenues are you communicating to address this, and how will your audience get that message?
All right, so I think one of the things, obviously, awareness. We can't talk a lot about the work that KEPRO is doing in raising awareness for the consumers. The government is doing it as well. But one key thing is incentivization. Let's look at the economy. Let's look at where it hurts. It hurts in the pocket. So if you can tell a consumer, an individual, a waste picker, that if you give me this plastic, you can actually make an extra shilling every day just from the plastic you are using in your house. Instead of disposing it, take it to Mr. Green, take it to another recycler, you can make money. If that message can go out to a lot of the consumers, I think we'll see rapid change, right? And the ecosystem is very large. Sami and his team, they know it, right? Plastic is gold out here. And people need to understand that what we are throwing away in the house can actually help us add that extra shilling in this economy where we are really struggling as well to make more money. So other than the advertisements, let's talk about, hey guys, you can make money from this as well.
Okay, Stephen, then is the Dandora dump site a plastic mine that if well thought about or after can be of use? And how are you then making that exercise led by the consumers in this regard of getting the message out there, away from the comforts of your offices, for them to lead this process of waste management?
Well, on that space, actually, from a KEPRO perspective, we've launched a strategy. We are calling it the consumer-led transformation. Here is whereby we are trying now to push in awareness, awareness in terms of, what we can do with the waste at a consumer level. What part should the consumer play? Awareness and engagement. How well are they engaged? Sonia has mentioned about the issue of, plastic is gold. How many of us know at home, just segregating, just that small segregation? Actually, I always say it's a split-second decision, wet and dry. And that's why I say, just start from there. That small bit of saying, I will put my wet waste here and my dry waste here. That is a huge milestone that can have a tremendous impact in terms of ensuring that the waste that is leaving the households is actually not even going to reach Dandora. Because what happens is that the moment you have the dry waste, definitely the collectors Sammy and his team, of course, they've seen this is dry waste, it's clean, number one, and that becomes very good input for Mr. Green. And that is where we are saying now the circularity and the connection coming in. So as KEPRO, we are trying to come in and converge and bring these people together. First and foremost, speaking to that consumer. We've gone to churches, we've gone to schools. That's another place where we want to tap where the masses are going into. Schools, here we are saying, well, where can we seed the new generation? Because this new generation are our young kids. I think the Gen Zs now probably is maybe are gone, we are already beyond that, Myself, we are the problem where we are saying we cannot segregate. It's a bit difficult for me to pick that. But for a small kid in school taught how to segregate, you start it as low as that point in time. And that now is driving. What we've done is that we've gone ahead, we've engaged the various counties as well. It's not only the consumers, we've looked at all the other actors in that process, the people who are doing the collection, what is their capability? What do they want? What can we come in as KEPRO to support? So we've gone out to do the engagements. We've done the, the publication in terms of what you can do with this type of waste. We've also gone out to the manufacturers as well to look at their design. We've talked about the design for recyclability. How are we designing our packaging material at the point of start? Because if you design it not for recyclability, then it's a huge challenge. We'll find it in the environment because it has no value. No one can pick and do anything with it. So it's a whole chain. And this chain, we're trying to knit it together so that we are all talking to each other. So KEPRO is now playing that bit of bringing in the manufacturer, bringing in the recycler, and bringing in the collector. And in this process, we're also incentivizing it.
On the production part, then, do you then require more regulatory frameworks?
Already, there is a regulation that has come out, that is the Sustainable Waste Management Act, which is basically Section 13, whereby what you're saying is that if you're a producer or a brand owner that wants to bring a product in Kenya, you must demonstrate that you are having an EPR scheme. What an EPR scheme means is almost like it mirrors the polluter pay principle. Where we are saying that I'm going to bring this packaging, this material into the market. I'm introducing it. Have I looked at the various items? Is it recyclable, number one? And if it is recyclable, what systems am I going to put in place to ensure that the post-consumer waste that will be generated after the consumer has used this product can actually be collected back and can actually fit back into the ecosystem of recycling? So that bit already has come off. That is already there on the Act. What we are waiting now is the regulation, because the EPR regulation is what now we will embed all these requirements, such that now it makes it very clear. If I'm bringing in maybe, let's say, a toothpaste or whatever, and I've packaged it in plastic, there's a requirement it has to be this type of plastic, because Mr. Green has invested to recycle it, and we're able to get it. The collection bit, we have to see how easy is it to collect after use. So that's how the whole system, we envisage it.
Samuel, is there enough support from the public towards waste pickers from your perspective as a person who's leading that initiative?
There's support. But now the challenges that we are facing, and Sonia and Mr. Chairman have mentioned, is we have different fraction of plastic, but the ones that are being recycled are very few. So when we are going for collections, when we collect the waste, we normally segregate at household level. If you see these the waste collectors, most of our members are using the pushcart, the mkokoteni. But you will see the mkokoteni, after they have collected from the household level, there's a mosquito net. You'll see they have a mosquito net. And that mosquito net carry the segregated one. They have segregated what valuable that can be recycled. But the rest which cannot be recycled will end up in the dump site. So the more recyclers, when we have more recyclers from different fraction of plastic, then we can minimize the amount of waste that ending up in our dump site. Because I cannot tell my client or a consumer to segregate. If they segregate and we don't have recyclers, where will you take them? We'll still mix them and take them to the dump site. But more recyclers, if you have more recyclers, then we can recover more and take to recyclers.
And when you mentioned that the use of bushcats or mkokotenis, you use, for example, mosquito nets to separate, as he has mentioned, for example, some waste from the other. How about then the safety standards here?
The safety standard is also a challenge.
Yeah.
You see, most of our vijana, they don't even have the PPEs. But there is where our partners come in. Like KEPRO, they have done something very good for us for supporting our waste pickers with the PPEs, the overalls, gloves, and gumboots,
yeah,
which now helping us to raise the dignity of these waste pickers, because they are playing a very big role in circular economy.
Yes.
And, they have not been, acknowledged. But when we have people who can come up on board and help us on that, then we appreciate on that.
Okay.
Yes.
Benson Abela, for example, Samuel is leading an initiative that, from safety standards perspectives, public support towards the waste collection mechanisms appears to be under enormous pressure. How do you then intend to help such initiatives through your the MTACA solutions that you have created, you have founded rather?
Yeah, thank you. I want to empathize what Samuel has just shared. And I believe, and even if you circle back to what Sonia mentioned, it's important that we incentivize the sector. So first of all, the reality of the frontline, the waste pickers who are handling the job, of course, in terms of getting the gears and the safety of the work, I don't think there is support that has come in, and of course, as echoed KEPRO and even us, we've done quite a bit of work in supporting waste pickers. But I believe that a lot more could be done, and I normally circle back towards the idea of fair pricing. And I know people assume that waste pickers get a lot of money in their pockets. May be true, but I believe that if you look at the entire recycling infrastructure, as what Sonia mentioned, it's below 10, 20%, 20% globally, below 10 in Kenya. And if the recycling rates are not even high enough, you cannot expect the people earning from that to get enough income to go back home with. So I think it's important that one of the ways that people can also open up that sector, we are doing that with technology by ensuring that more households and more people are aware of the service provision that these people are offering, and also they're aware of the recycling, so then they can contribute to adding more recyclables to these guys and ensuring that the income is even higher. But one of the key solutions that I would really advocate for is that people have to invest in that ecosystem. If you talk about the concept of value addition, right? By just adding value to plastic, the price goes higher. And if someone is earning little from what they're collecting, if you were just to increase that by 10, 20%, it means that then this person goes home and they're satisfied and they're proud of what they're doing. So really, if we even look at the aspect of, let's say, positive brand positioning, showing that it's okay to do waste work, incentivizing young people to get into waste work, you cannot really do that if you cannot show someone that if I get into this, I'll put enough money in my pocket and I'll go home happy. So we try to really look at that entire chain, where as you involve consumers to bring in recyclables to them, you also support them to even earn better from the ecosystem, so that people are really encouraged to
yeah, but then if their primary problem at the moment is the process of the waste collection, and then you are talking about technology, that speaks to connectivity, is it first, then the aspect of literacy. I mean, doesn't this pose another challenge to a population that already may not have internet connection, for example, to get informed, to get awareness about waste management? How do you also overcome that secondary challenge of technology, which poses challenges to the people who might not have the connections, especially in the informal settlement, where that is rather seen as a privilege?
Right. We think people don't really have access, but people are really tuned in. And of course, the challenge accessing the internet, but people have access to information. So one of the strategies that we've used, of course, even beyond getting awareness and leveraging the digital platforms, is you build communities of recyclers, people who understand that it's important to transition to sustainable waste management. So this we've done strategically. When you go into a particular community, there are people who sort of are opinion holders, and they shape how people do their things. And of course, if you go and bring people together, build their capacity on perhaps the importance of doing the right thing. It's also relevant to ensure that the same community that you go to, there has to be that respect that they give to the service provider. Normally, if I don't respect someone coming to collect waste at my household, and I don't see them as a human being, I don't see that someone that I should interact with, I would not really care about their work, right? But if you bridge the gap between the consumers in the community and the people offering this service provision, and there's that respect for their work, and their work is dignified, then, of course, even if someone doesn't have access to the internet and cannot tune in and cannot use technology, just the perception of this is the right thing to do as a consumer, this is the right thing to do as someone who wants to build a cleaner community around me, that's really what we go for. So that's really part of the way that we drive change. Yeah.
Sonia, coming to you. What's recyclable and what isn't? Given our recyclable rates are already below, very low, and you have mentioned that globally it's also low. But what's recyclable and what isn't? Or we just view it from the eyesight perspective of what we see as collective waste management?
So it's actually not even from the eyesight, it's more chemical, the chemical composition of the plastic.
Okay.
So for example, if I look at your Elianto at home, that yellow container, very easily recyclable because the properties are very clear, it's mainly pure, and you're able to bring it back and put it right back into another Elianto package. Then we look at something like PVC, right? Which first of all is also can have adverse effects on the environment when you're recycling it. PVC dust can be very unhealthy as well. So that makes it very difficult to recycle it because it's also very risky. So sometimes it's really the chemical composition, and right now recyclers face a situation where there are informal converters who are mixing all types of plastic. Now when you do that, you do not know from a technical perspective how you can put this back into another packaging, right? And so there are 7 different classes of plastic. 4 of them are very easy to recycle. The 3, there's a lot of technological aspects still in development, but what we're looking at generally is that plastic in itself is not a problem. Plastic pollution is the problem. So when you're trying to look at recyclability, it's one of the solutions in the circular economy, but there's also reuse, right? There's repair as well. And recycling, even if we push it up to 50%, there's still going to always be that room where we need to also reuse. And I always say, plastic pollution should not be an African problem. Naturally, Africans have always been reusing. Right? In the village, you use a maize cob as a loofah to shower. You know what I mean? So for us, we really need to step back. As much as we're going to increase the recycling rates and have more recyclers and build more capacity. So we have Mr. Green, Mrs. Pink, and all of us all together. You also need the consumer, again, to decide on if my packaging cannot be made out of recycled material, then I do not want it. And when they do that, of course, the person who produces the plastic now must do it because they no longer have a market, right? And so whereas he has mentioned very nicely that, the polluter pays is there, we really need the consumer decides. I think that's now what is going to shift everything. And that obviously will take a lot of work, but I think more of these conversations will help.
And Stephen, what is the outcome of your latest campaign drive in Machakos County? And if you were to embark on a continuity campaign or journey across the country, it's demanding, is it?
Yeah. I think maybe just to let you know on that journey that we've decided to take as KEPRO, we started this year, and we've called it the consumer-led transformation, where we said now let's target the consumer, let's target all the actors within the waste value chain. So far we've covered around 24 counties, started in January. We have a 3-year strategy on this one. Whereby we're saying it's a journey. I know when you say people converting, shifting behaviors. So with that engagement, what you're seeing is first, number one is engagement and awareness. People understanding, number one, what is the waste they're generating, what plastic, as Sonia has mentioned, what plastic can be recycled, what cannot be recycled, what is a problem, and of course now understanding who can also be able to recycle these materials and what is the value. So what we've seen is that we've engaged more than 1,200 institutions, talk of WMOs, these are waste management operators, talk of county government, waste management teams, technical officers. We've sat down to walk them through about this dream we are seeing, this vision we have in terms of having everyone engaged on this waste management issue, and what part they're playing. We've also, as I mentioned earlier, touched on schools, churches, and we've made it, like a vibe, going into towns and making a show out of it, bringing in people to show them how you can even segregate in your household. Just having 2 bins, 2 separations, put just wet and dry. That's good enough. Yeah, we've also brought in the waste pickers, Sami and his team. And what we've done here is that we have actually developed a toolkit. Last year, we came in and developed something we're calling a waste collector toolkit. This now guides, if today I'm a waste collector, where do I start? And our intention is that we want to formalize that job and make it very dignified. You know, sometimes when you hear I'm a waste collector, ule mtu wa kuokota taka, chafu nini. Now we want to take it to the next level. Where we're calling it I'm a waste collector is something I can move on. It's a business, and it's a real-time business, and that's what we're creating. And we're partnering now with the recyclers to make sure that that pool has happened. So within that 1,200, we've gotten really great audience. Within the social media, I think we've engaged more than 10 million plus. The followers on us we have on Twitter, name it, and as well coming to, getting this opportunity to come to media stations to talk about it and to talk, what are we doing about it? So we've covered, Machakos was the latest. We started with Nyanza, we've done the coast, we've done the North Rift. We've been everywhere, 24, and we're keeping it, hype. We're keeping that hype going on, so that then we make sure we have everyone in our bus. To get
so it's a fully-fledged campaign.
It's a fully-fledged campaign.
Sam, in terms of then, we talked about the safety standards, but the understanding around what your people are handling. Is there enough education and awareness around the same? Because you said there's need for separation. All components are not the same, even in terms of the makeup of the plastic itself. Do you have enough awareness besides the handling of what you are handling?
We still need more awareness creation especially for consumers. Because there's some people that still don't understand, don't understand the issue of waste management. You talk about waste management. For example, when we want to do segregation at household level, and you are talking with a client, and the client will tell you, why do you want me to segregate, and it's your work. So we need to do more awareness so that they can understand. By doing waste segregation at household level, it's for their benefit, because we will minimize waste that's going to the dump site and take them to what can be recycled, will be recycled, and is going to be the benefit for the environment that we are living in. So we need there's a need for more awareness for the consumers, so that people do and take responsibility.
And Sonia, is there enough outcome from the ban imposed on plastics in 2017 by the government? Has it in any way attempted or helped in the realization of more recycling of plastic materials?
So I'll give a double-edged sword. It might be a bit controversial. So in terms of the flexible packaging that was banned, they only banned, the plastic bag, So in that sense, yes, but you've not curbed the issue. An interesting fact is that if all plastic was not produced today, Mr. Green could still be in business for 50 years. Right? That means there's enough plastic already out there that even if you don't produce anymore, it needs to be collected and removed from the streets. So one of the key things that we need to look at here is a ban is not the solution. Okay? I think it makes more sense, again, to look at the circularity, ensuring we design plastic for recyclability, and it is more sustainable. And also, I think the psychology of a human being. When you tell them they cannot do something, that's what they want to do, right? Like a child, I'll put my finger where you've told me not to. But if I tell you, if you do it this way, you're going to get X, Y, and Z, a cleaner environment, but more so, you're going to earn more money, you're going to do this, I'm sure people will move in the direction a lot faster. So I would say the ban did help. It was a step in the right direction, but that is not going to be the direction to curb the pollution problem we have and the waste management problem.
So it requires more of persuasive language as well?
Yes.
In getting the consumer by your side?
Exactly.
Okay. Benson, according to figures, there is an indication that 92% of waste is mismanaged due to inefficiencies in collection and data management. How can then your application, for example, the leveraging on technology, help this in terms of providing accurate data that will help in the proper management of waste?
I want to perhaps highlight that I think the two biggest challenges that we have is the component of getting accurate data, but also the component of segregation of waste at source. We talk about it, and again, I really love what Sonia talked about, the consumer decides notion. But you talk about it, but it's still a long journey too. get people to really understand how to separate their waste source. But I think that if we just stick to that path, there are really two ways that we can approach to ensure that we can either improve data accuracy and enhance the efficiency of what you do. One way that our application is contributing to this is that the collection of real-time data. If you're able to get real-time data and monitor really what's happening from the household level, what's happening from what waste service providers are collecting, what's happening from, let's say, the volume and the type of waste being collected. This information is very important, both from the agencies designing solutions, but also people collaborating to know that where do we need to put concerted effort. Even you talk about, let's say, awareness and education campaigns, then you want to, let's say, target a particular household in a particular community and say, we need you guys to do ABCD. You cannot do that without data being at the heart of what you're doing. But also the accuracy, we are integrating AI, and AI is very critical, especially in the aspect of predictive analysis. So if you're able to really know the trends and patterns around, how people really, the behavior of people, how people generate waste, if you're talking about, let's say, pollution, and you're talking about the types of brands that are out there, if we can track and know that really this is what is out in the environment, this is what is out on the streets, out in the rivers, but this is what really also the consumers are using and disposing wrongly, we are really able to build upon that. So I think it's important to support the aspect of data accuracy by getting the real-time data on all these processes and also leveraging tech to analyze the data. But also it's important to improve the efficiency. So one of the things that we've done is we've built an integrated system, and of course the component of having a marketplace, because if you look at, say, what Samuel was talking about, people being able to do actual business in the recycling space. If I don't know where I'm going to get the right market for the product, then I may not be incentivized to start, right? But even if I start, say, I open a buyback center in the community and I know really where I can get money, it's one thing to start, but because the informal nature of the sector, it's easy for me to start what I'm doing, but then it's easy for someone to come and give me a low price, and I'll be discouraged to take part in that. So one of the things that MTACA has done in building a marketplace and a data hub is that we're encouraging really the waste entrepreneurs. The waste entrepreneurs, they are starting that, they're able to access market, get fair pricing, know what's going on. So that way we are bridging the gap. Of course, data is trapped, but most importantly, people are in the loop, and with this we can really move forward as an ecosystem.
Yeah, and Sonia, coming to you, because I also wanted us to take a look at the consequences, but this first. He talked about the relevance and the importance of data. How much do we produce, for example, if you may have the numbers, and given the waste management that we're talking about, is there the capacity which ought to be commensurate with what's produced for proper recycling? So
on average in Kenya, it's around 5,000 tons a day. Okay, if we're now that's waste is produced. Then if you look at it now from plastic, it's 1.3 million tons a year, right? So of that 5,000, 2,000 of it might be plastic. Now, the key thing is that in terms of recyclability, not more than 100 tons is recycled in a day. Okay, so you can see how disproportionate that is, okay? So Mr. Green has the capacity to recycle 20,000 tons. If you put all the 5 major recyclers in Kenya combined, we're looking at potentially 40,000 tons a year. Whereas I've just told you 1.3 million tons has come in. So it's really disproportionate in what is being produced and what is being recycled. But then again, as I mentioned, there is a way to increase that, obviously.
Yeah, and what are the ways to increase?
So for example, I mentioned machinery. A lot of the big barriers for why we cannot even have waste pickers move all the way to become recyclers, because Sami will tell you that's the dream, right? We have many stories of a waste picker starting from collection, getting his center, getting his sorting center and MRF, and then having a recycling facility. The biggest barrier is to be able to afford the machines. So the government would need to incentivize, the purchase of those machines. Those machines are also not locally made, so you have to import them in. So we're talking about the taxes as well. That one barrier can allow so many more recyclers could come in if the government could support that from a legislation perspective and a focus area. That is one area to ensure that recyclability grows. Number 2, Kepro and also Sami had mentioned this, is really about having the stakeholders speak together. Okay, so I mentioned the consumer decides, we've discussed the polluter pays, but if Sami and I do not work closely together, then we have a very big problem, right? And so that means the stakeholder engagement and making sure there's so much room in recycling that competition is not an issue. We can be 5 million and all be making a lot of money, right? But the idea is from the waste picker, we must make sure they are earning, they are recognized for the great work they do, because the process starts and begins with the collector.
Yeah.
Yes.
Stephen, earlier on you mentioned about, she talked about the number, that's huge.
Yeah.
And you talked about value. What is it we can gain out of this in terms of money? I mean, we talk about unemployment, and this can be addressed as well, because if we turn focus to that, there is the proper machinations, for that matter, to help out in the activities that Sam and the folks that he leads do. Then the value in terms of money, what is the output that can be gotten?
Well, from our point as a KEPRO, and in terms of coming into this ecosystem, maybe just to give you of what we've done. If I look at it from when we kicked off, because we kicked off initially as actually involuntary. No, it wasn't. It was really people who just want to support the environment, coming together as manufacturers and set up a way of collecting our post-consumer waste. So for the last 3 years, we've managed to collect 16,000 tons of plastics, and this has been diverted from going into the landfill. And the amount of money we've incentivized, we are also here incentivizing the recycler.
Okay.
More than 150 million shillings has gone out, and this is money that has come in from the manufacturers, from the brand owners, who are saying, yes, we can see the challenge that is there on the recycling, on the collection bit of the consumer waste, and we want to be part of the solution. And how do you be part of the solution is see what are the pinch points. I think she's mentioned about the infrastructure within the recyclers. This is one key thing as KEPRO we've seen as an area where we can come in to influence. And how do we influence? We are coming in with subsidies and incentives. And as mentioned, we can say, what is your capacity? You are scaling at 40 tons a day. What will it take it for you to move to 80 tons?
Okay.
Yeah. What will it take? We are coming in as, trying to say we will have enough business for you, because the manufacturers are saying, yes, we are ready to support in terms of the EPR fees that we are paying on a monthly basis to come and support the recyclers and scale them up. If they're able to move from 40 to 80, I mean, that's a huge leap. And what does that do? It also creates a pool on the other side, on Sam's side, whereby now they need more volume. And what happens then? Sam has to add more people. More people have to come in. So I think for me, the way we want to spin it from a KEPRO perspective is that there's a business opportunity here. Yeah. And people are asking, where do I invest? Where do I put my money? Recycling in Kenya is a big opportunity. I don't think there's a recycler who does not run 24 hours around the clock. Yeah. If you listen to the numbers that Sonia has brought on the table. So what we are saying is that we are trying to tap a lot with the partners. We have a lot of partners who've come in.
Okay.
Yeah. The Danish industry has really come in to support. Basically from a capacity building, we've sent people out to Denmark to see how does this thing really work?
Yeah.
How does the recyclers relate with the pickers? How does the PRO like KEPRO relate within the ecosystem? And how do we, create a pool in this process so that then circular economy is a reality. So partners really appreciated they're coming forward to see how well they can support, but still, as Sonia has mentioned, it's still a big, huge gap looking at the volumes out there and basically the opportunity to grab and go and recycle all those opportunities in terms of getting that waste which is already there, which we call it more of the legacy waste which is there, before we even start capturing the new one that is coming in. So really big opportunity. I think for me, again, talking a lot with the governments to see what can the government come into play. What can they do? What can they incentivize? What rebate can they put on machinery that is coming in for recycling? Because that coming in, I can tell you that those are straight jobs coming in within the economy. Yeah.
And one of the major challenges is, for example, the taxation on some of the equipment that is normally, or the materials that are brought in to help in the recycling process.
Yeah.
Is this an issue that you're also looking into and convincing the government that the net effect of incentivizing, for example, that is that you'll have job creation, that you'll have economic opportunities, you'll have more incomes, and you'll have more people to tax in there?
Yeah, actually, that is the space which we are in, and those are the engagements. When we are doing this, the consumer-led transformation, we are trying to bring in also the county teams to understand how does the circular economy work, and where do we need their support coming in? How do we lobby? How do we get, if it is the Ministry of Environment, to hear us out and listen to what we are bringing on the table? Because at the end of the day, a rebate on recyclers and recycling equipment coming in creates a massive pool, because what happens is that the pickers are able to, get more volume to pull in. For our end, the manufacturers and the people who are doing the production, they're convinced that there is a process for their packaging being collected back and put back into the system. And actually, it's a win-win for everybody. And what happens is that the environment actually, at the end of the day, is a smiling area, because then everyone wants to work in an environment where you're not seeing trash left, right, and center. Yeah, you will stop seeing people, littering. I know when you drive, you see people throwing things out of the vehicle, because you will hold it, because it has a value. Yeah, because if I hold this bottle, the next stop, I accomplish them, I can be able to get some rebate out of it. So that drives that whole scenario.
Okay. Samuel, we normally see the contention of who collects what, for example, in the context of Nairobi, and it in many instances is a cash cow for many. How do you then work, for example, with the county government, which in itself is finding it hard in having a coordinated way of doing waste collection across the city, being huge? We're not even talking about the metropolis, in this case, Kajiado, Machakos, and Kiambu counties. How do you then, or are you working with the city-county government of Nairobi, for instance? Because they could be in a proper position that they have those vehicles that where they used to collect the waste before taking that to the dump site. Are you in collaboration with them? And then the payment aspect, who pays you, for example? For the county staff, it's understandable, but for you, who?
With the county, we are working very, very closely, because last year we had a meeting with our governor, His Excellency Sakaja, and we proposed to him that initially the county used to give licenses to private waste providers, but for us as a community-based waste management associations, we were not getting any recognition or any document from the county. And from that, the governor agreed to give us the license to help us operate, which we are now getting for the fee. And most of our members, they don't use truck. They are using kokoteni, as I mentioned, because of where we are operating. So our agreement with the county is that every area we have what we call an holding ground. So an unholding ground is where, after we have collected from the household level, is a place where we can now transport this waste to for more sorting or segregation to recover more materials. And then the county truck normally come and pick from the waste that which are not valuable and take them to Dandora. So that is the support that we are getting from the county. And, we are the hustlers. When the government talking about the hustlers, we are the real hustlers on the ground, So for us to be able, to have more opportunities in this industry, the government also should also come in. One, to support the recycling, as Sonia said, to support the recyclers so that they can get more machines, recyclable machines, for more recyclable materials. Because if we don't have more recyclers, then it means we will collect and do what? And dispose to Dandora, And waste is a resource. If you have the more recyclers we have, the advantage to us. If we have, we don't have more. For example, laminates. Laminates are not recyclable. So what happened? When we collect, we'll take them to dump site. Because a collector, when he collects waste from the household level, first of all, he will recover what is valuable, for any material that it can get money from. Yes.
Okay. And Benson,
the ecosystem to have conversation. I'm grateful that kept device, right? If you talk about EPR and what PROs are trying to put together, with data, it's easy to go and take advantage of the polluter pays principle, right? But if I am an aggregator at the community level, I don't even understand, how much I'm recycling, and I don't put myself up for success, it's very impossible. So we are trying to be the interface between this person at the ground who is really trying to do amazing work, like Samuel is saying, and the people who have the resources. So let me just use the word polluters, people who really, they can invest money to ensure that people can do. And if you talk about investment, you talk about the government, it's important to recognize that waste management, the last time I checked, is still amongst the bottom 5 underfunded sectors in Kenya. It's informal, right? And if you're going to have a conversation with the government and tell them, it's important to incentivize this space, and I think we also have to be very critical that they need to have the data. They need to see the potential of the green and circular economy really opening up opportunities for jobs. Research by Andes says that the sector is worth $54 billion. But if you say it and don't demonstrate it, no one is going to be putting in resources, right? We see technology and the platform we've created as enabling data to open up the sector for investment, data to open up the income and the earnings of people in that sector, but also, of course, tech presents itself. You can, leverage automation in the facilities and all that. But for us, the conversation is around behavior change and data for increased income.
Okay. Stephen, coming to you, we have talked about packaging practices, and as we round this up, also for the communities living around the dam sites, what's then the awareness towards them because of the dangers that the dam site poses to them in terms of environmental hazards, and some children who might not be aware of what they're eating or what they're collecting from these dam sites? Is there also a messaging choreographed for them as well from an awareness perspective to help you in the drive towards being a circular economy?
Yeah, definitely. That message is also captured on our initiative. And what we're doing on that space is, number one, I know trying to change somebody who's been in the dam site for the longest time is very difficult to make him not go there. So one thing is that we've gone into equip with the PPE as a first response. The people who are operating there, if you really need to go to the dam site, then you are well equipped. Two, what we've done is that we are trying to drive the people having to go to the dam site to make sure that if I'm a waste collector, do I really need to take things to the dam site? If they're segregated early enough, they don't need to reach to the dam site. Yeah, and what we are looking here, maybe just to give you a vision of what you're seeing, is that we will no longer have dump sites. Actually, our idea and our discussions with lots of the county governors is to move to what we are calling MRFs. So MRFs is a material recovery facility, whereby we are saying we are now closing down dump sites and move to MRF. MRF is that we're going to put here what is already segregated to some extent. Yeah, and that makes sure that at least that danger has been minimized. Yeah, in terms of people going into the dump site, because number one, dump site is probably something we want to drive to have them closed down. Actually, that's our intention. Yeah, and that's the message you're saying, is that there is an alternative to a dump site, and the MRFs is the alternative. So what you're driving is that we're engaging the county to see how we can have most of these dump sites shut down. Yeah, and move to an MRF. So we are trying to push to have an alternative facility created, so that then that is where we have the waste going into, which is much cleaner, much safer, well managed and controlled. Because with the dump sites, actually very difficult. There's no control there. If you've ever been there, there's no control. We can't assure of anything. So we're just now trying to capture the teams that are going there. For the kids, we are really trying to see, and that's why we are saying we are talking a lot to the schools to make sure that kids are not going to dump sites. They're not going to try and recover or scavenge, waste from those points. How can we do it? Where can we recycle? And first of all, kids at a certain level should not be actually involved in that process, because that brings in another complexity of child labor. And these are some of the things which we are saying we have put it on what we are calling our waste collectors toolkit. Yeah, we want to formalize this whole activity of waste such that it's a dignified role. It's not a role that, or a job that you're doing because you have nothing else to do with your life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And of course, pull away children from there, because the moment you formalize it, it's registered, all these things of child labor are out, it becomes very much structured. And of course, the collector sees the benefit. I think that is the key thing, educating them of the benefits they can get, because they're in an opportunity, and we can, sort of amplify them and get them to a better level.
Thank you. Sonia, I'm pretty sure my guess could be that you'll be attending the COP climate conference in Baku?
Yes.
Azerbaijan?
Yes.
Yes, my guess was right. What will be the green message from Mr. Green Africa to that conference?
Well, there'll be many messages, but I think the key one will be first, the waste picker must be recognized as the heroes that they are.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two is going to be that Africa has the responsibility and has the opportunity to show the rest of the world how this can be done. Okay? And how to keep Africa green, and we can lead this. And so those will be my two key messages. And the reason why we'll be this is because generally we have the opportunity, we have the people, we have the amount of people, young people who are willing, want jobs, and we can create a new circular economy. And actually, I always say, go back to the way we did it before.
Thank you. Yes, Samuel, your final word.
My final word, the waste pickers need to be recognized as great people that are in circular economy, because for many times they have not been recognized or acknowledged by the government. So we want the waste pickers to be acknowledged. Number two is that we need more recyclers, so that the material that we are recovering from the waste can go to the recyclers. And then sensitizations, awareness creations. We want the companies also, when they are advertising their product, it's good to mention if this packaging is it recyclable or not, so that we can recover that and take it to a recyclers and for that. So if we do more awareness creations and everybody take responsibility, that in making sure that my waste is my responsibility and I have to dispose it well for the benefit of the environment that we are living in, then we can create a better country, a better world.
The sector, let's work with consumers to know that it's a responsibility to take care of their waste, and that way both people from the government to consumers really will know their role in driving us towards a sustainable and circular economy.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Your time is all appreciated. Stephen Muli, the board chair, Kenya Extended Producer Responsibility Organization. Good morning and thank you. Much appreciated for your time. Sonia Orwa, the country chief executive officer, Mr. Green Africa, thank you for your time. Samuel Odamo is the chair, Nairobi Metropolitan Community-Based Waste Management Network. Your time is appreciated. Thank you. And Benson Abila, who joined us virtually from Kisumu County, the founder and CEO of MTACA. Your time is all appreciated, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to you too for waking up with us here on the broadcast. The hashtag on X has been Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. Trevor will be here tomorrow morning here at the same time. Till then, good morning.